Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me, in the next half an hour, tell you a little bit about what we are doing in Pakistan. We live in a world where technology is rapidly changing the landscape of nations, and it has become the great divider. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting, sorry, there's some problem here. Yes, can you adjust the slide please so that it fits into the screen? So we live in a world, as I was saying, where technology has become the great divider, and where certain nations are marching forward, which have invested in education, in science and technology, and others are being left behind. However, education, science and technology can also offer the opportunities of being a great equalizer, and where nations can use the wonders that science is performing today to close the gap. And there are genuinely wondrous things which are taking place, whether you look at biotechnology or you look at the stem cell research, new materials. Everywhere you look is fascinating, and in fact IT has transformed the world into a global village. And so in various fields nations which are investing in their real wealth, which is their children, and providing them with a high quality educational system and tapping into their creativity, are the nations which are marching forward. And so knowledge is now the main driving force for development and for poverty alleviation. And in order to industrialize, one needs to use knowledge as a launching pad. In Pakistan, while we have adopted a bimodal approach, while it's important to look at basic health, primary education, water and other needs, simultaneously with that it's important to have emphasis on higher education, science and technology, and establish linkages with industry. The whirlpool of development can only take place when you have a number of different factors coming together simultaneously. Primary education is important, but not enough. You have the Sri Lanka example, where you have 95% literacy, but it's not an advanced country. Science and technology are important, but again, not enough. The example of Soviet Union, they could put men into space, but they couldn't translate that science into commercial products and relate it to and have an impact on the quality of life. So you have to have education, you have to have science and technology, and you have to have the linkages with industry and with the process of socio-economic development. That linkage is largely missing in most of the Islamic countries, and we haven't gone about seeing how we can relate. And for instance, if you just look at some smaller economies like Belgium, a GDP of $260 billion, population of 10 million, Austria, about 8 million population, a GDP of $230 billion, versus oil-rich states, you find that natural resources have diminishing importance. It's no longer important how much oil or how much natural resources you have. What's important, has become important, is how bright are your children, how are you able to unleash their creative powers. And so it is the tragedy is illustrated by the fact that the total GDP of the entire Islamic world is less than half that of Germany and less than a quarter of that of Japan. Japan has virtually has no natural resources, very little natural resources. It's put all its eggs in one basket, human resources. 120 universities in the city of Tokyo alone, and over 1,000 universities in Japan. And this is a slide where I've taken an average of, for instance, the Arab world, how much they spent on defense, health and R&D of their GDP. This is an average of the entire Arab world, and on defense it's 7.1% of their GDP. Health is 1.25%, and R&D is only 0.2% or even less in many countries. And Nature, the latest issue of Nature, 2nd November, if you have a look at that, there are a number of articles depicting the sad state of situation in the Islamic world, talking of, and the reasons, of course, are leadership, which is often corrupt and illiterate. They don't really know where to go. For instance, Comstech, an organization which I am heading and which was set up by the Ummah for uplifting the science and technology scenario of the entire Islamic world, all 57 countries together contribute only about less than $500,000 each year. And with that, we are expected to transform science and technology. That is the pathetic situation that exists. In fact, Sweden and WHO give more funds for research in Islamic countries than all the 57 Islamic countries put together. And let me just also mention what one world-class institution can do. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology has spun off 4,000 companies which employ over 1 million people, have an annual sales of some over $230 billion. $230 billion annual sales. So the linkage between socioeconomic development and industry. In Pakistan, in the last few years, I mean, I've been crying myself hoarse of what needed to be done over the last 30 years that I've been in education. And finally, in the last 5 or 6 years, I have had the opportunity to be the Minister for Science and Technology, and now I'm responsible for higher education. And we have been able to convince President Musharraf that the way forward is one and one alone, and that is education, education, and education. Education builds bridges, it brings nations together, it brings harmony, it brings peace, and it creates an understanding, and it releases the creativity of children. So there are 3 major issues that we are trying to tackle. Access. How many % of our children have access to higher education? Pakistan has about 85 million people below the age of 25. 85 million, that's a huge powerhouse of creativity if we can only empower them. And the quality of education and relevance, how do we link it? So our focus has been on faculty, because it's very easy to put in money and create beautiful campuses. What's more important is to identify the bright gems that we have and train them and provide them with opportunities to work within the country, and then provide the infrastructure and then some key areas in which we have to invest, because the last thing that one wants to do is to do too many things and then one is able to do nothing. So focus on some priority areas and then look at linkages to the economy and the quality. So the strategy has been to look at basic sciences, applied sciences, also social science is very important, economics, finance, management, and linkage with the industry. And there are many countries who say that, well, we don't have the luxury of doing basic science. I think that's wrong. It's like a ping pong game, basic science and applied science throwing problems to one another. And so it needs to be carried out, and then linking it also with the other areas. So let me now describe some of the interesting initiatives that we have taken in Pakistan. Firstly, attracting the brightest. That I think was a key to our programs. How do we attract them? And I think a revolutionary step that Pakistan has taken is a change in salary structure. Under the new performance-driven tenure track system, we are probably the only country in the world where the salary of a research scientist in Pakistan is now 3 times the salary of a federal minister in the government. 3 times the salary of a federal minister in the government. Now this, I think, is a huge step forward, because the impact you will not see today. You'll see 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road, because already now children are now opting for science, for engineering, for economics, and for other fields as their first option, and not as the last option. Otherwise, they used to all go in 2 or 3 fields, and we had an acute shortage of high quality scientists and engineers and also educationists in other fields. So this has been a major change. Of course, not everybody's salary has gone up. You have to resign from the existing position, and then you have to agree to be on contract for 6 years. You are first evaluated after 3 years, and then after 6 years by an international panel of experts, and if they think that you are doing good work, then you get confirmed at the higher salary structure. We are probably also the only country in the world. We have turned the tables, and we have said a higher salary is not related to the seniority of service. It's related to your productivity. And so we give a research productivity allowance each year, and this can be several times your normal salary. So a young assistant professor in a university publishing at a high international level can have a higher take-home pay than a more senior professor in the same department who is a full professor, but who's not been as productive. So linking and this productivity, there's a complex formula which includes impact factors, citations, and a number of other things through which productivity is worked out. So this is being, I started that when I was the Minister for Science and Technology. Previously, some 5 years ago, continues till this day. Also, we said there's a lot of resource out there. Pakistanis who are settled in Europe and USA, other countries who have gone up the ladder, can we get them back? And can we then cluster them in different institutions? And so now it is about 350 who have come back in the last 12 months, who have lived all their lives at top institutions abroad. And we are creating centers of excellence around them. For instance, in the Government College University in Lahore, 38 mathematicians all have been put in one institution, and a world-class center for mathematics is emerging. Similarly, biotechnologists and other fields, getting them back, clustering them, and of course providing them not with just good salaries. I mean, we are paying about $4,000 per month, which is an excellent salary by Pakistani standards, but more than that, excellent research grants and excellent research facilities, because they want to come back not because they want money, they want the opportunity to give back something to the country. And we are not confining it to Pakistanis, so we are advertising in China, in Russia, in Central Asian states. So we don't care what color or religion or creed they are, as long as they are good and are able to contribute, we would like to have them. And so there are many people coming from other countries as well in this drive to get quality people into our institutions. Research funding, we have a program under which we offer a large amount of research fund. We are establishing linkages with a variety of different institutions, universities, some 50 linkages between Pakistani universities and British universities alone, for instance, allowing joint supervision of PhD, allowing exchange and joint research. And people who are completing their PhDs on their own, we immediately get them jobs to come back to, and a huge income tax rebate only for academics, so that as compared to a normal citizen, he would pay only 1/4 of the normal tax that somebody else has to pay. Massive scholarships programs. Previously, Pakistan used to get some donations for scholarships from some advanced countries, a couple of dozen or so. I told President Musharraf it is not the job of Germany or France or Sweden or UK to train Pakistani students. We must put our money into our own children. And so we have started a very large program in which we are sending somewhere between 500 to 1,000 students each year to top universities around the world. The world's largest Fulbright program has been started also by Pakistan, of a $150 million program to send 640 students to Ivy League universities. And this is being magnified. A project for $500 million was approved just last month for sending another 2,000 students abroad. So massive program to send students to top universities, and then measures to get them back and absorb them into the country. So I don't have time to talk about it in detail, but a comprehensive mechanism which includes high salaries when they come back, a research grant in the last year that they are there, they can apply so that they can start running with the ball. When they come back, they may come back to a barren environment. And a lot of local scholarship programs, over ₹1 billion worth of programs for offering students scholarships at the undergraduate level within the country. Postdoctoral fellowships, and I already talked about the linkages taking place. And so, sorry, it's about 100 million below the age of 25, so there's a huge pool of creativity. Using technology to leapfrog. Can we do things in unconventional ways and catch up? Because while technology is a great divider, it can also be a great equalizer if we use it properly. So what we did was, and I happened to be the Minister for IT and Telecom along with Science and Technology in the previous government, so we moved forward quite rapidly, setting up the IT infrastructure. We established the Pakistan Educational Research Network, and this is a platform for offering a digital library which provides access to 20,000 international journals, current issues plus back volumes, free of charge to every student in the country. With the University of Lund, we have developed a one-window website, so one-window search engine, so that we can go into the websites of different publishers, and we don't have to go into different websites through one-window search engine. We can search through all the 20,000 journals quickly. And we have placed a satellite in space, ParkSat-1, which is used for distance learning. And we have started a very, very exciting video conferencing program. So we have established video conferencing facilities in many of our universities, and we should have this available in all the universities within the next 6 to 8 months. And we have started a program so that top professors from Harvard, from MIT, from top institutions can give lectures, and they can be listened to live and interactively by students and faculty in Pakistan. We have some 4,000 lectures now lined up, and the first lecture will be delivered next month. And this will then be a regular program in all fields of education, not just confined to science and engineering. And to start with, we'll be starting not on hi-fi research lectures, but basic concept lectures, first-year undergraduate lectures, where the need is the most important to address the critical shortage of high-quality faculty. Let me, this is a little bit of what we have tried to do in the IT area in the last few years. There are backbones running across the country, and so we have gone up from some 40 cities to 1,000 cities which have access to optical fiber. Internet has gone up to about 2,000 cities in the last few years, from only 29 cities in the year 2000. The internet usage is now around 10 million actually. This slide is already outdated, and it's gone up fast. The prices of bandwidth we brought down. These are the information highways, which are far more important than some of the normal highways that you are familiar with. So from $87,000 per month, they are now down to about $1,250 per month for a 2 megabit line, making us by far the cheapest in our part of the world. And all universities have access, have very high-speed internet access, and we have 10 gigabit loops around major cities now being put into place, allowing us to have access to Internet 2, for instance, and the bandwidth availability also was increased dramatically. And mobile telecommunication, that's another story. It's the hottest sector of the economy. We bought in the calling party pays regime. That is, it should be the calling party which should be paying and not the receiving party. And we changed that back in 2002, and that's resulted in a huge explosive growth of the mobile telephonic sector, and now it's up to 30 million, starting from less than a million a few years ago. And we placed a satellite in space, which I said is being used for distance learning. It has footprints over parts of Africa, Central Asia, as well as Southeast Asia. And the Pakistan Educational Research Network is the major node connecting together and then radiating outwards. I'll skip over some of these slides because I do not want to infringe on the time of my friend, Professor Richard Ernst, Nobel laureate from Switzerland. So I'm going to jump over some of the key issues, but we have established an MIT mirror website in Pakistan, so all the MIT materials. We have downloaded all the MIT courses on CDs. The MIT, as you know, has open courseware, and with some 10,000 sets of CDs have been distributed to all the universities in Pakistan. And now we have a joint program with MIT where we are actually recording the lectures of the MIT professors on video lectures, and these are being distributed under a jointly funded program with MIT. The digital library I've just mentioned, it provides access to a whole range of databases and search engines, and things like SciFinder, Scholar, and other search engines are easily available. And the video lecturing facility, some of you may want to give lectures. 3 or 4 lectures a year is all we require, and spread the news amongst your colleagues that we would love to benefit from your expertise. And I've invited Professor Richard Ernst also to join in this bandwagon of lectures. Already the results are now showing up in terms of internationally abstracted publications. From Pakistan, there's a 35% growth each year, and over 120% growth over the last 3 years in ISI publications taking place from Pakistan. But what's much more important is that young men and women are now excited, and now a large number are opting for careers in science and technology as their first option, and landscape of universities is changing. A key initiative is innovation and entrepreneurship. How do we incorporate and embed that into the process of education? So the curricula are being modified and have been modified So a student who passes with an MSc in organic chemistry should know, for instance, how to write a business plan, how to take a loan from a bank, and how to go out and form his own company rather than just simply going out and looking for a job. And technology parks and business incubators are in the process of being established in different universities in Pakistan. The STED program, Science and Technology for Economic Development, allows university and industry to apply together for a research grant, 80% of the money coming from the government, 20% from the private sector, to work on a joint project of direct interest to the industry. So this is a facilitating step. And then we are establishing a number of, we're establishing a number of world-class universities of engineering, science, and technology. This is the most recent and the most ambitious step that Pakistan has taken. 9 universities, new universities are being established. We thought a lot about it. We are, of course, trying to improve the existing universities, but there is a lot of mediocrity existing in many of our institutions. And it's very difficult to build on sand. And so what we decided to do was to, while we're trying to improve the existing universities and improve the faculty, have a fast-track process where we start from ground zero and build up world-class institutions very quickly. So we have now agreements with Germany, France, Sweden, Austria, Netherlands. Italy was signed just last week. Japan and China and South Korea are also coming in. And these universities will, for the first 10 to 15 years, will have vice-chancellors from their country, will have their top professors, will have their examination system, will have their national quality assurance guaranteeing quality, and will have joint degrees. So the degree from Pakistan will be a joint degree with a world-class university in these countries. So joint degree so that there's credibility. Fully funded by Pakistan, so we are not asking for any funding from any international agencies. And this is an exciting project. We are going to spend about $4 billion over the next 10 years in this mega program to set up these world-class institutions. And this is a win-win situation because many of these countries are also excited because there are demographic changes taking place in Europe. The older populations are getting older. The young are not opting for the hard subjects like mathematics, basic, and sciences, and they are worried. So if Italian industry or German industry can find that they can get world-class engineers trained to their best standards in Pakistan and having a degree which is the same as that would be in their top universities, then industrial outsourcing would be a natural corollary. So these institutions, and we are working on a very fast track. So the first university, which is the French university, will start operations in Karachi in October next year. And the others will start operations in October 2008. So it's a very fast track in a modular fashion. And for each university, some 500 students are being sent abroad for master's and PhD level training. So for 9 universities, 4,500 students will be sent abroad for master's and PhD level training. In each country, no single university has capacity to absorb so many students. So in each country, a consortium of the top universities has been put up, 6 or 8 universities, the top French, the Germans, etc. And this consortium will be responsible for accommodating the students in those fields. Each university will have a technology park and a technology incubator, access to venture capital, and facilities for prototype development. So about half the land area will be for the university and the other half for the techno parks. And you may, if you have time, visit the techno park here at the Middle East Technical University in Ankara, which I would recommend is worth seeing. So, so technology park will be an important area. And then over a period of time, these will develop, we hope. So this is a very exciting program. And these are some of the French ones. And this will provide education, not for the course of just for education, but employment, and it'll be of benefit to both countries. And of course, of benefit to Pakistan because of our desire to develop to a knowledge economy. So I would like to conclude by saying that the real wealth of any country is its children. With a population of 160 million people, we have a tremendous pool of creativity. And the challenge is, can we provide them with high quality education and skills so that they can contribute to the process of socio-economic development? I have 3 or 4 minutes, so I'd be happy to answer any questions. So thank you very much.